Hey everyone, so tonight was another episode of Roswell, New Mexico. This one was the fourth episode, which was called Where Have All the Cowboys Gone, which was another 90s song. So I'm sensing a trend here with the episode titles, but I'm okay with that. So this episode it was a little bit slower paced than some of the other ones, but it did have a lot of information. It deepened the mystery a little bit, so there was a lot of stuff to kind of go over. The basic premise is that the town is still completely blacked out after Max had his little power surge at the end of the last episode. So they're kind of dealing with all the chaos there. They don't have power anywhere. They've got generators going on in a couple of places, but it's not going to last them. The engineers can't figure out what's going on. All of the transformers all across town have this kind of like lightning bolt looking thing, like a singe mark or something on it, which was caused from Max, but of course nobody knows that. Now you've got lots of things going on in this episode. I will say, the first and foremost, the one major takeaway from this episode that I had was that after 3 episodes, this was the one where I finally didn't hate Isabel through the whole thing. I didn't love her, but I also didn't actively hate her and just kind of roll my eyes every time she was on screen. They brought a lot more to her character in this episode. I don't know if I necessarily think the acting was better, but it softened her a little bit, and I thought that was interesting. So there's progress there. So all throughout the episode, you have Liz, who's still trying to find out more about Rosa. She reconnects with an old boyfriend of Rosa's, whose name was Federico, and we take it to believe that he might have gotten her deeper into the drug scene at the time. There's some bad blood there. But Liz meets up with him. She's trying to find out more information about who Rosa might have been seeing at the time of her death. Of course, he doesn't know anything about it. But later on in the episode, he does come back to her, and he has a backpack full of Rosa's belongings that he found in one of her hiding spots after she died. There's some pictures in there, and there's also a bus ticket out of there that was set to leave the day after Rosa died. There was also a little note in there, and Liz doesn't recognize the handwriting. To me, it read a little bit like maybe a boyfriend or girlfriend or somebody who cared for her. But Liz doesn't know who did it. She's trying to figure out who might have wrote it. She goes through all of the old yearbooks trying to match handwriting, and she can't come up with anything. Now, we'll go on to more about that later in the review, but that's kind of where you leave Liz at that point. Then you've got your other storylines. You have Cameron, who's a little bit mad at Max after the incident with Liz at the drive-in. There's a quick scene between her and Alex's dad at the police station where he recognizes that she's ex-military. They kind of talk for a second. He shows her some pictures of all the Transformers, and she says it looks like a lightning strike. Now later on towards the end of the episode, you have another scene with Cameron. She's at the bar by herself. She's still kind of mad about everything with Max, and she's also seen the lightning or the singe marks again at the hospital, and she's starting to put 2 and 2 together about Max. Now, Alex's dad kind of more or less blackmails her into feeding him information from the sheriff's department because he's been denied access to it. He talks to her about someone named Charlie, which we don't know who that is. So again, like I said, he's blackmailing her. So you've got that storyline going on. You've also got a lot of stuff between the 3 aliens. You've got some scenes there between Max, Isabel, and Michael. They're trying to figure out what to do about Liz and her theories on everything. Max tells her about how she confronted him in the previous episode, and they're really worried about that. So Isabel decides that she's going to dreamwalk Liz again. She's going to persuade her to leave town, and I kind of think this wasn't the first time she did it, but they don't really say anything to make you think that. That's just my own theory. I wonder if she didn't have something to do with it, 10 years prior, but again, my own theory. So you had some interesting scenes with Isabel trying to practice her dream walking and persuasion powers, and I found that really funny, and it went a long way in me not hating the character. She's at the bar at Maria's bar, and she's like making this guy named Hank. She's making him do all this stuff. He's ordering cosmopolitans. He's making these phone calls to people. It was just really funny. It took me a minute to catch on that she was actually kind of controlling him. But you've got that going on, and then there was this scene in there that I swear was just for the Candy fans. It was the first scene you've really had between Michael and Maria. They're kind of, I don't know, flirting, little talking there. I thought it was really cute, and dang if they didn't have some chemistry in that quick little scene. Now, I don't think the show's going to go in this direction, but it's an option, and I appreciated it as a fan of Michael and Maria back in the original show, so I thought that was kind of neat. But Maria also has some strong issues against Isabel. She wants Michael to get her out of there, and you kind of go into a little backstory there. Isabel eventually goes up to Maria, and she wants her to give her palm reading, and then she manages to get inside Maria's head, which shows her kind of the last day that Rosa was alive, and you see a flashback to the bar, and Rosa was there talking to Maria. Isabel somehow shows up there too, and Rosa is instantly like, tell her I'm not here, I don't have time to deal with her, and this really freaks Isabel out. She ends up fainting. Later on, when she comes to, she just doesn't know why Rosa hated her so much, and she's wanting to find out. Now, it really goes a long way into making me wonder what actually happened between the two of them. What was the relationship like there? Why was Isabel even looking for her? So you've got that going on. You also have a storyline there's a little boy at the hospital who means a lot to Kyle, and Kyle and Max kind of have this little standoff, and Max realizes that Kyle knows about his who he really is. And then Max goes down to the basement. He's desperate to try to bring the power back to the hospital to save this little boy. And he does that. It knocks him out. And then Cameron finds him. And that's where we get into what we were talking about before, about how she's putting two and two together, because she's seen the singe marks, and she sees Max there, and she's starting to suspect something. Now, towards the end of the episode, you have Kyle going back to Liz's house. And Liz, at that point, has been looking through the yearbooks, and she thinks she's figured this out, that possibly the person who wrote the note to Rosa was Kyle's father. She's very quick to jump to conclusions when it comes to someone sleeping with Rosa. She accused Max of it in the previous episode. Now she's accusing Kyle's father of having an affair with Rosa. She's very quick to jump on this. But she kind of backs off when she sees how upset this makes Kyle, and then she's like, oh, no, I'm sure it never happened. But, she's already accused him, so it's a little late now. But somehow they go from this confrontational scene to Liz and Kyle ended up sleeping together, just kind of as a casual thing. And he's trying to convince her to stay in Roswell to take a job at the hospital. And then he leaves, and he runs across Max, who's on his way there to kind of make amends with Liz. And they have this little scene, and that's definitely when Max knows for certain that Kyle knows about him. Now, after that, Max goes in there to Liz at the crash down. He kind of confronts her about her and Kyle, and she admits, yes, she told him. And they have this really drawn out scene. They're going very slowly with this couple, but I like it. I like the complexity of it. I like the drama, and it just works for me in a different way than the previous Max and Liz worked for me. Now, the scene there is really good. He basically is there to say goodbye to her, because I think at that point he believes that Isabel is still going to persuade Liz to leave. But that doesn't end up happening. After the little talk between him and Liz, he goes back to talk to Isabel and Michael, and she says she doesn't think she can do it, and they try to figure out where to go from there. But that's when Michael says, okay, I'm gonna step up. You guys have things here, I have nothing, and I'm gonna confess. And of course they're like, no, you can't do that. But then he says, after all, I'm the one who killed those girls. Now, do I believe that he intentionally killed those girls? No. I think it was an accident. I think, yes, he might have been responsible for it. You know, he might have been drinking. There might have been something going on. He's got a secret to hide. I don't think he meant to do it, but I do think that he did everything he could to try to save them. But, you know, it kind of leaves you there. Like I said, I don't believe for a second that it was intentional, that it was malicious. It just happened. So that's kind of the big reveal in this one. So again, really good episode, a lot of information, and I cannot wait for next week. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Leave some comments down below. Tell me what you think, or you can also hit me up on Twitter at Seth Reviews, and I will see you in the next one. I have a lot of interesting stuff planned for this weekend, so you'll just have to stick around and find out. Have a good one, guys.